16/2025 Zoning Board of Appeals for the City of Bloomfield. And stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Everyone could be sure their phones are on silent. The first order of business is the approval of the minutes from the prior meeting on November 18th, 2025. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes, and are there any comments? No comments. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. The next matter is the board will consider the request from the property owner at 574 Chase Lane for approval of a variance to allow a setback of 37 feet in lieu of the ordinance that requires 40-foot setback for an outdoor shower wall connected to a pool cabana.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the Zoning Board. My name is Eric Peach with Giffords Webster, the city's planning consultant. Our first item for consideration is 574 Chase Lane for an accessory building setback. This parcel is zoned A3, located along the south side of Chase Lane. And so back in 2022, there was a new house permit that was approved. And then in 2023, there were some accessory structures also approved. It went before the Planning Commission for a portion of the fence that was located within the side yard. So the site's been under development since roughly 2022. And so it's before us again today because in the backyard or the rear yard, shown here, highlighted in orange. So this is the principal structure, front yard along Chase Lane in green, the two side yards in yellow, and then the primary development of the accessory structures is within the rear yard where the ordinance intends it to be. However, back along the setback of the rear property line, there's a pool house that was constructed, but with a component of it that was not part of the approved plans. And so looking at the details of that, this is the pool house shown here as a rectangle, and it's this highlighted pink area that's the problem or the issue moving forward with this plan. So as you can see, the building, the cabana, was approved at approximately 43 feet, 3 3/4 inches from the back property line. But this wall, which includes a small shower head intended for showering prior to swimming in the pool, is approximately 37 feet 2 inches. And so the construction of that very so slightly encroaches into the 40-foot rear setback. So because it's connected to the pool house itself, that puts the pool house not in compliance with the setback requirement. So we did discuss with the applicant that what the option would be, or the outcome would be, if the wall was disconnected from the pool house. And so in either case, connecting it to the pool house puts the pool house itself in the setback, and so that requires a variance from the zoning board for a dimensional variance. If it was detached from the pool house, the standards for the allowance of the wall would change. As you can see here, it's about 8 feet 6 inches in height. The ordinance allows for walls to be within the rear yard up to 6 feet. From 6 feet and higher, it would require a planning commission oversight and approval for a fence that, or a wall, excuse me, that's higher than 6 feet in height. But it would be allowed to be within the 40-foot setback, just no higher than 6 feet. So this is just to give you a perspective of looking at the structure from the west, northwest. You see here that the wall highlighted in pink encroaches the 40-foot setback highlighted in blue by about 3 feet. So this was an as-built review, so it came to us as a flagged item. So again, everything is in compliance with the accessory building, that being the pool house. It's just this portion here that requires a variance because it encroaches about 3 feet. I'm sorry, this should say 40-foot rear setback into the rear setback. And just a few more images showing this would be a view looking from the house towards the pool and the pool house, showing the wall under consideration here. So these are some more recent pictures showing the pool house, the cabana, and then it's over here that there's the minor encroachment, showing the shower wall, and then from the perspective looking from the east-southeast.
You were saying the pool house was built without approval.
No, ma'am. The pool house received building permit approval, so everything is fine with the pool house in terms of receiving its permits. It's just that this added portion, the shower wall.
So it was during an inspection that this was?
I believe so.
Discovered?
Yes, I believe so.
So the final inspection is,
Yep.
and did you talk to the applicant about just moving that fence, or that wall,
Mhm.
to the west? Off of what's current, to the west.
Yep.
Pivot it around to bring it outside of the rear yard.
Yes, we discussed all options, including full removal, separation, what that would look like. But the applicant decided to opt to move forward with the way that it was constructed. I believe it's foundational, so there's the cost to remove it or correct it there would be a cost associated with that. The applicant is here to discuss that more with the body, but we did discuss all options that were on the table in hopes that we could get compliance with the order.
It was hard to actually go back and see it because of the situation. But anyway, I think that there is nobody in back of them, is that correct?
Correct. Let me see the aerial.
Yeah, that's the horse trails back there. And
Yes. And then there is some existing evergreen screening here along the property line. So there is, we believe, to be adequate screening, whether or not that shower wall is there or not. And there is no screening that is required when there's accessory structures or buildings proposed in the rear yard. I should say accessory structures. Accessory buildings do require screening.
So the contractor tied it into the storm system initially or presently?
I will defer to the applicant or the city engineer who has more information on that. I can move on to the engineer's slides here.
Good afternoon, Leah Michaels with HRC. That was the only thing that I was going to bring up, is that the shower is connected to the storm sewer. We do require that it be connected to the sanitary sewer. So if this board does approve that it remains in place, that is a modification that they will be required to make.
Is that a pretty standard requirement for these outdoor showers?
Yeah.
So what, did you talk to the contractor? Why did they do it?
I didn't ask why, because it doesn't really matter. They have to change it.
Yeah.
So
Does it currently just drain out into those retention?
into the ditch, which, yeah, the retention pond is right next door.
And that's the only engineering issue?
Correct.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Eric.
No, it's okay.
There was just a few more images that were left. I think this just showing the floor plan, your standard pool house for entertainment purposes, and then just the problem that the wall created. Because the pool house was built 3 feet from the setback, there's a buffer of 3 feet, but then because it's extending past that, this portion here that would require technically the dimensional variance. So on the color renderings, this is the pool house shown here with the pool, the back of the lot with the existing trees. So just in this small location, shown here with a little bit more detail in terms of dimensions, just to give you a sense of the actual size of the added structure. So.
I noticed on one of the slides it said condominium. Are these single-family homes, or what? What did it state that on there? Are they site condos?
Yes. They are.
Yes, they would be site condos. Where did you? Oh, here, condominium.
Yeah,
line.
I noticed
Yep.
that on there.
Mhm.
No difference in the rules for condominiums versus home, houses rather?
Nope.
Same setback, everything is exactly the same?
Yes, it'd be the underlying zoning of A3, so those standards would apply.
Whether it's a condo or a
Correct.
separate house?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's a strange thing because condos you usually consider being smaller facilities, and the houses in that area definitely are not small.
No, that's for sure,
So it's
definitely.
unusual to say they're condominiums, unless there's some requirement or something.
It is a way for developers to develop a site without getting into the underlying legalese. Condominium is a way for them to develop neighborhoods, and some developers prefer that legal method.
And they can pack them closer together and make more money that way.
That is maybe a reason.
That's the bottom line.
So if that configuration were to be taken out of the rear yard and moved over, what would be would they still need to obtain variance?
No. So if this wall here was moved in line with the dashed blue line, then that would be in compliance. The survey would have to show that the setback from the rear property line to the wall, if moved, would be no less than 40 feet.
But isn't the pool house itself encroaching a little bit? Or no?
I do not believe so. It should be 40, 43.
I don't think so.
Oh, I don't have the existing. I believe it's 3 feet past the 40-foot setback, so they have 3 feet to work with.
Is there a hot water line going to this? Or is it strictly cold?
I'm not sure.
The applicant's here if you'd like to.
I can answer all this.
Okay,
Yeah, there is a hot water line that is going to,
okay.
with the instant heater within that pool house cabana, that's for that kitchenette area.
Okay.
So it's just a small tankless heater that just heats.
And that supplies everything for the cabana, okay.
The plumbing's actually going through that wall and out to the shower.
Well, so it's just one water line, but there's a heater, a tankless.
Yeah, so there's a tankless heater that sits in
I see.
the kitchenette. There's only 2 small sinks, and then this spigot right here. They're really not using it for anything. They don't even use this for showering.
Anything else, sir?
That's all.
Anybody have any questions for the planner? And Leah, you're engineering, you're done?
Okay.
Does the applicant have any comments?
Other than what Eric had mentioned, Anthony from Satellite. I do the planning and permitting, and also project manager, and this is actually one of my projects that I did as well. So I'm on the build side, this portion of this was on the landscape side. If this was an easy fix, we would do it, but there's significant footing that's under this wall, which was actually inspected by the building official. So this was fine, this approved. This was caught actually by our submission to HRC when he did the site plan. So.
Were there footings for just a shower? I mean, I understand the building, but just the
The
shower.
way, the heating, the fact that it's attached to the structure.
Yeah.
itself.
I guess the challenge really is gonna be, it's not due to the uniqueness of the property, right? But, that's on one end. The other end, I look at it and say, there's no neighbors complaining, it's beautifully done, it's properly landscaped, so you know, I don't in theory have a problem with it outside of the, you know, it was a self-created issue.
We want to do any more screening, even though it's not needed, or not required, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
Or,
I don't know what is, you said the screening was pretty adequate already?
Yeah, if you look at the aerial, well, even here, these actual photos, so this is looking towards the rear property line.
Right.
Yep. So there's some pretty mature evergreen trees in existence.
You know, if they had close neighbors or something.
Right, it'd be a whole different issue.
big
Yeah.
concern, but really, they don't.
So did you know it was out of compliance when you built it?
No, we actually didn't, when we were looking at the site plan, and we saw the setback, and the way, when we were placing the footing, we thought we were 8 inches off. Turned out to be 3 feet off, but it was done and over with by that time, when our own site plan engineer said, hey, I'm submitting this to HRC. I'm like, what's going on? So that's when they did the, you know, obviously when the site plan engineers do all the measurements and they go out and they do the as-built, they identify these issues and then they submit it to HRC. HRC Giffords comes back and says, hey, you know.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, and then, so I spoke to Eric about it, I'm like, we don't have an option here, we have to just ask for this 3-foot variance, otherwise.
When was that fence put in? I mean, that's a pretty big mistake.
The fence was actually put in before that wall. Or it wasn't tied in, it was set back there, and then the wall was built, and then the fence was tied in.
And the only fence back there is the pool fence, there's no other fence after that?
No.
Okay.
I do have pictures of the back area,
Those trees are from the Hunt Club, right? They're not the,
it's the Hunt Club. There's nothing back there.
yeah, but the big evergreens we're looking at, those are not the applicant's property. Those are
Looks like there's a, some sort of fence on the Hunt Club property right there,
Yes.
past it
Yes,
as well.
yes, correct.
But the Hunt Club's property goes to the evergreens and even further. That pool fence, is it on the property line or is it in a little bit?
Oh, no, it's nowhere near the property line.
Okay,
It's here highlighted in blue.
right, okay.
Oh, so these evergreens are on this unit, right? That's not, those are, okay, so that dark black line, that's the property, for this unit.
So the homeowner's trees, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so we're 3 feet outside of the setback, encroaching into the setback. And that centerpiece of limestone was, approaching a couple thousand pounds, and it took forever just to set that in place. I know it's not your problem, but
Those evergreens are kind of thin back there. I could live with a couple more screening it and call it a day.
I mean, we could potentially throw screening behind that wall. Architecturally, it's a pretty nice stone wall back there. It's the same stone wall as you're seeing in front. It wraps all the way around.
Yeah, I guess somebody riding a horse is gonna see a wall, not a shower.
Well, they're gonna see the entire event, if that's.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, you're really not gonna see anybody showering. Because of that, the way it is. So I don't know if additional screening even would help.
Or, yeah, or make
If you're
any
trying to
difference at
screen-
all.
If
Yeah.
you're trying to screen the,
I'm not trying to screen the shower, just the
just
out of
the-
compliance
right.
part of it.
I don't feel like in this situation that's necessary. Like you said, it's a, nice looking wall and there's nobody back there.
Now, but the Hunt Club could sell that land
Oh, that's true.
and a new subdivision goes in and then you have issues.
Do you think the issue would be with that wall due to the setback or the entire event itself? Because the entire thing would be visible.
I don't have a problem with, the cabana is compliant, it's just like, well.
If we were to go apart
necessary?
Arborvitae's, building that, I mean,
Yeah, we don't like those.
Yeah, only if they're staggered or they don't look like a wall of rubber ladies.
yeah, we know.
But if, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of room back there to put something that's tasteful. You're not the landscape architect.
Yeah.
Well, any other questions?
No.
You want to pose a motion as submitted or with some amendments to it? Personally, I think that there ought to be some screening back there. This is definitely a self-created, I mean, it technically probably should not be approved, but
That's the issue, right? If it's not self-created, then we run into a problem.
we absolutely do.
But it wouldn't set a precedent as per city ordinances. I'd like to have a little screening back there as penance and to screen it from any potential sight lines.
Sorry, were you gonna say something?
I will say that the board must find that the proponent's problem is not self-created and must articulate facts to support that. What facts? I know there's been ample discussion on some additions that would potentially alleviate visually, and those can certainly be added, but the board must find each and every 1 through 5. So to the extent that that changes anything, I just wanted to articulate that.
Yeah, we can't get over that then. That clause. We can't get past that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a lot that, that's what these as-bills do, and, doing equity is directly in opposition to what the statute, ordinance calls for. So, it's the board's pleasure. You wanna make a motion?
I make a motion, we deny the variance as it is self-created. Motion to deny variance as requested. I move to deny the request for this dimensional variance because of the applicant has failed to establish practical difficulty for the following reasons. 1, strict compliance with the ordinance requirements would not unreasonably prevent the owner from improving their property. The applicant submitted permits for and was permitted to construct a standalone cabana, a pool, and a fence. The applicant constructed an attached addition, the pool shower wall in parentheses, which was not contemplated on the approved plans and which violated the city's ordinances. The city seeking compliance with its permits and ordinance is not unreasonable. 2, a variance could not do substantial justice to the applicant and to other property owners. The city approved the applicant's proposed plans, and the applicant deviated from those plans, and in doing so, ended up constructing something which violates the city's setback ordinance. 3, there are no unique circumstances on this property. This is a new build lot with approved building plans. The homeowner constructed an addition to the cabana which was not in the original on the original plans, and which violates the city's ordinances. The applicant could have worked with the city or proposed a shower which was detached from the cabana. The purpose of the variance is to offer relief to property owners when the existing building structures or natural circumstances on the property limit their ability to reasonably improve on the property. None of those circumstances are present here. 4, the applicant's problem is self-created. The applicant constructed an addition to the cabana which was not approved by the city, and said improvement violates the city's ordinance. Had the applicant stuck to the approved plans, there would be no hardship. This situation is the definition of self-created hardship. The granting of this variance will adversely affect purposes or objectives of the master plan as a as the goal of the master plan is to bring properties into compliance with the ordinance.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
What's the recourse after this, legally?
Well, you can talk to the city manager, but,
I had the city manager, Scott Worthington, I was looking out there, they like that obviously doesn't fall under ordinance, and you'll talk to the city attorney, or do
you can talk to the city attorney, not now, but you
No, no.
can talk to the city attorney and see what might be possible, but, there's no variance approved, so at this point, the structure is non-conforming and it needs to be removed or modified. Okay, the next and final agenda matter, the board will consider the request from the property owner at 300 Cranbrook for approval of setback variances to construct a garage addition and a variance from the required landscape open space requirement.
Okay. Our next item for consideration is the property at 300 Cranbrook Road. If you look at the front of the review letter, there are 4 separate variances that are before you today. This site is kind of a unique site in that it fronts Cranbrook Road to the west, but it is accessible to Cranbrook Road via an access easement that provides access to properties that are not fronting Cranbrook Road. And so we'll see those details in just a moment here. Excuse the other error, that should read A3 as the zoning district. This is just showing an aerial back in 2021. The ZBA should be aware that there was a landscaped open space variance that was approved by the zoning board when the pool was proposed. The open space was reduced to approximately 47.4%, whereas 75% open space is required for the the A3 zoning district. So just to recap, let me back up. What's proposed is an addition to the garage. So in this location here, there's an addition to the home. Let me go to the yard determination graphic. So the dark and shaded area is the proposed structure. Everything in white is the existing home. So by adding this portion or this segment of the building, that pushes the front yard from this point to this point. But as you can see, we're still in full compliance of the setback along Cranbrook Road. And so what the variances entail, by looking at the yard graphic here, the first is that you can see the small little portion of the existing house encroaches the 24-foot side yard setback. So the existing house, as it stands today, is an existing non-conforming building. And so the ordinance says that any time that you make an alteration to an existing non-conforming structure or building, you have to bring the whole building into compliance. And so obviously this is not proposed to change, but because there's an addition to the existing non-conforming building, that requires a variance for this building to maintain itself as an existing non-conformity. Number 2, is to allow for the existing non-conforming algebraic setback to be maintained. And so when we did an algebraic setback of the existing structure, of course, this area, anything that's in close proximity to the north property line, had an issue with the algebraic setback analysis. So that's variance number 2. When adding on this portion of the building, that further extends the test lines that we run for the algebraic setback. So it all pertains to that as well. Number 3, the dimensional variance to allow an algebraic setback of 30.6 feet in lieu of the required 55.45. So not only just maintaining that algebraic setback failure, but to allow for a new algebraic setback when the proposed addition is taken into consideration. And then the last variance is for a dimensional request to allow a landscaped open space of 59.8% in lieu of the required 75%. And the good thing about the landscaped open space request is that It is improving, so remember back in 2021, the pool was approved at 47.4%, but now we'll go over those slides in just a moment, but there's some proposed alterations or modifications of the driveway that will be removed, and so that will increase the open space. But a variance is still required because the improvements made don't reach the 75% that's required. And so this is just our ordinance standards table that shows where we have compliance of the front setback of the proposed addition, the side setbacks of the north and south. We have some existing nonconformities with the existing building. And then down here with the algebraic setback analysis, you can see by doing that analysis, taking into consideration the length of the building and the height of the building, these are the outcomes that are required when in fact the outcomes of those analysis is the column to the right of that. And then with the landscaped open space, we are gaining about 1,445 square feet. Sorry, let me just make sure I get that right. The applicant is proposing to remove sections of the driveway and reduce the amount of impervious surface on the site by 1,445 square feet. So the removals are improving the open space by about 1,445 square feet. So this is a diagram that shows areas in green that are to be removed. So back here you can see there's some asphalt. This is the existing garage here. And so there's a layout of existing paving or impervious surfaces. There's an existing building here that's not being touched with this proposal, so it will remain as is. But all this green area shown here will be removed. And then the next slide I'll show will give you an idea of what's proposed for the driveway surfaces here.
What is that existing building? It looks like a warehouse or something.
I believe it is an accessory dwelling unit. I don't have the floor plan or knowledge of what the floor plan would show, but it's been on the property for as long as.
So they do own that house.
It is owned by, yes, is owned by the same property owner.
Helpful at all, I do have an overlay of both the deletion and the addition.
Sure, sure. But just to go back between the two slides, this is what's being removed. This is what's proposed in terms of impervious surfaces.
So the garage would come forward.
The garage, so existing right now is this portion here, and then what's proposed is this dark red area. That's the garage, and I'll show you an elevation that would help. Well, first let me go through. This is just a slide that shows that existing nonconformity. It's a very small sliver. The required setback is 24 feet. The proposed garage addition will satisfy the 24-foot setback requirement, but it will fail the continued algebraic setback analysis.
So part of the garage will not have a paved frontage to the north. Where I think the garage is, the asphalt's being removed.
Yep. Yeah, so this area here will be removed if you look at the green. So all of this back here, and maybe an aerial would help also. Oops. So this is all going to be removed, and then the addition will be placed where there's existing paving, and then it'll take up a little bit of existing open space, but ultimately all of this is going to be reworked. That'll ultimately increase the open space when some of this is reworked.
So the existing garage is going to be torn down?
No, the existing garage will be added to.
Direction of entering the garage is changing from Cranbrook side to the south side.
To Woodbury?
Okay,
It'll be
so I was
down.
wondering where the door was.
So
Okay.
it will be on Woodbury then, the existing, or the new part of the garage, the door will be on the Woodbury side versus Cranbrook.
Yeah, it'll face south. So this plane here would be, and I'll show you that in just a second with the elevation. Here. So this is that existing house, and then this would be the proposed addition. So it kind of wraps around
But we don't have a problem with garages on the front of the house.
Typically, garage doors should not face a street. And so because of the unique layout of this lot, it's not technically facing Cranbrook Road, but it is facing the drive, the private street, the private easement that gives access to the lots behind this one that are landlocked, because they don't have frontage along Cranbrook Road. So it is facing a drive area, but not Cranbrook Road. So here, Cranbrook Road would be over here, more or less.
So the current configuration of the doors face Cranbrook?
So just to complete the presentation, again, this is what the elevation would entail. Looking at the front of the house facing that drive area, the private road, private street. And then as we turn, whoops, this would be the rear elevation. So looking from that encroached setback, 24-foot setback on the north, that's this area. So this is pushed back. This is further away than this portion of the building. I can give you that's looking from here. So that's that line here and that encroachment of the existing house there. And then driving by on Cranbrook, this is what the passerby would see. So again, this is the list of the proposed variance requests. It's to allow for the existing non-conforming side yard setback to continue because the addition triggers, so to speak, the requirement for that. Otherwise, the alternative would be that the whole house would have to be brought into compliance with that. Number two, the dimensional variance to allow the existing non-conforming algebraic setback. Number three, the dimensional variance to allow a new algebraic setback with the proposed addition to be those specific figures, the 30.6 feet versus 55.45 feet. And then the last one, dimensional variance request to allow the landscaped open space to be less than the 75%. However, it is an improvement from where it stands today. But in order for the application to go before building permits, these four requests would need to be approved first.
Okay, so what are we actually approving? There are a lot of different things going on, but what is zoning actually approving?
So like I said, in order to move forward to permitting, the algebraic setback analysis would have to comply. So that means the entire house would have to move away from the northern property line. What's being proposed, there's no change to the existing house as it stands, except that an addition is proposed onto it. So you cannot alter an existing non-conforming building without seeking without bringing it into full compliance, or else a variance request is required to be approved. So it's the home addition. There's existing nonconformities in existence, just based on the uniqueness of the lot and the way that the house is oriented. So it's because the addition is being proposed, the minimum setbacks are met. So it's not a dimensional variance that has anything to do with encroaching into the minimum setbacks. It has everything to do with further expanding upon the algebraic setback. And then with the landscaped open space, the little bit of history on it is that the pool, when it was approved in 2021, I believe they worked with the city engineer and the planning consultant to incorporate more of permeable surfaces around the pool. And so with that, the zoning board took that into consideration with the oversight from the city engineer that the permeability was sufficient for drainage and flood impact and that sort of thing. So by worsening the open space with this proposed addition, the applicant is reworking and modifying a lot of the driveway and the paving areas to help minimize and reduce the impact of permeable surfaces. So it's just the dimensional variance for setbacks, that being the algebraic setback analysis, and then just the open space to
So
consider.
the open space has been taken care of, removing the driveway, the old driveway.
It still does not comply with the 75% required open space. They're asking for 50,
It's made the non-conforming.
59.
Yeah.
It's improved, but it's not to the standard that's required by the A3 zoning district.
So it is 50 at this point.
Well, right now, it's 47% open space as the house exists today, and they're proposing 59.8%. So by the removal of some of that driveway surface, it'll provide more open space to the property, but it's still not compliant.
Can you show the slide where it has the garage in that private street? How far,
Oh, this one?
yeah, the garage doors are gonna be,
Like how far from the
yeah, how far
drive?
from that private street? That's basically on the property line, the street, or?
No, well, so this would be the setback, this dash line here. So that would be, if this is 24, this one would be 26 feet. So to give you some perspective, I don't have the
Okay, so-
exact.
Yeah, I'm confused on where this private street is
This
here.
is the current road as it exists today.
Right there, okay. No, please.
So there's actually two gates, and so the gate right there comes, and then they come on the drive, and that's the drive for them to get to the backyard. So right there is 26 feet, so it's probably another 26, it's probably 50 feet away from the drive. Now, in theory, there's another gate there, but generally we let everyone use this gate, and that other gate stays closed. So they use it, it's about 50 feet away from the main road.
And they drive over your property?
They do.
Okay.
So that's where the landscape open space plan.
Okay.
In theory, it's all non-conforming because they're using the road as part of my property line. So I have to drive and the road.
And also, and along those same lines, this portion of the property is paved by way of the Cranbrook Road right-of-way, which lies essentially on top of this property, and so that counts against them as well. And so I think in the past, the ZBA has had sensitivity towards that complication or that
Yeah, I
strict.
think for both issues, for the easement roadway or whatever you want to call it, and the paving of Cranbrook,
Right.
makes this an unusual situation.
And for me to say something else, the other reason when we leave this gate open, what ends up happening is because this is all open here with asphalt, we have 3 small kids, and now with a lot of the Amazon drivers and delivery drivers, they whip around there and they go onto my driveway and not onto the street. So really what we plan to do is grass all of this, kind of create this beautiful, drive to the street where they can't come right into our house.
Okay.
Jeez.
Eric, can you go back to the other? slide
Yep.
That has the crosshatch showing what's being, yeah. So the crosshatches, that's the improvements, the asphalt being taken up, right?
Yeah.
So the drive to the south, and your neighbors to the south, that asphalt drive is remaining. I'm not seeing, are you just,
Would this be helpful?
well, I'm just wondering where the road, you're pulling up the grass, what appears to be to the current asphalt drive to the south, and just terminating the, the access. Can you beam that to the?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right there. What's happening to that road?
Nothing. The road is still there.
But that crosshatch suggests you're taking your pavement out. Is that accurate or not accurate?
So like where, the question would be,
Right-
where does it
right-
go from
Yeah,
here?
so you're right there.
If not here, where
Is
does,
that asphalt being taken out or is it remaining? So it's not being, that looks like it's being eliminated, but it's not being eliminated, right?
my understanding it is, this is being eliminated, so that the course of traffic would go like this.
After completion,
Mhm.
the south gate is still completely untouched. And so it's zoomed out from here, so you can see that there's two entrances. Without
How many copies
Oh,
of
here,
that do you
right.
have?
This is the gate that
Okay.
remains closed, it'll still remain closed, and what we're doing is we're just taking it to our lot line and making it where,
Oh, I see, so that route to the south is gonna be an awkward jog unless they change it.
correct,
Okay. And they're okay with that?
well, in theory, that's, their gate stays closed, so they're gonna use our gate.
Right, but
Why?
there's presumably, there's easements.
Why? Because their theory is that when they go out, they have to go out straight on Dunstan.
Okay.
So I've been a good neighbor.
So, yeah,
For
so there's no
years.
legal reason you're doing this out of the bottom of your heart.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's no, I assume that there's a easement that deals
Well,
with all
the
this?
easement in theory, by the deeds, is that is the easement right there. The easement doesn't mean that I have to let them go straight out. from my-
I mean, I don't know, easements could say a lot of things, so if that's what you're telling me, that there's no easement across your property for the
gate.
the route to the north versus the route to the south, and, you know, I mean, it's really not the city's business to get involved in easement enforcements, but, you know, if we know that approving a use that would cut off an easement right, we don't wanna do that.
No, of course not.
So, as you've described it and as depicted in the current drawings, that section that connects the southern route into your property is gonna be removed. So how's that gonna look? Is this gonna be just a saw cut right across that asphalt? Yeah, right there. What's gonna be done with that?
Yeah, and this. We got several copies for you guys.
Oh,
That's
good.
just showing where
We can share.
entrance, exit, so you have this separate, this is coming in from the south, and so that's still gonna connect all the way around to those other homes.
Thank you.
Okay, this makes a little more sense.
So people on Woodbury, you actually have traffic coming on your property as they're going down Woodbury.
No, it's all gated back there.
Okay.
Where you cannot see Woodbury. There's two houses behind us. This is an acre, that's an acre, that's an acre, and that's an acre. And this is only from Cranbrook Road.
Okay.
So Woodbury's, down here. That's a private drive. That's a private.
So Eric, is that something that the city, either with the city attorney's review or your review, looks at the elimination of what appears to be easement interests from parcel, like, it's cut off, but the parcel to the south
Right.
that is currently going over the applicant's property, whether that's just by habit or because they've got rights and you're just being a good neighbor. But, I mean, do we know that by approving this plan and eliminating this connection to the southern route, that we're not inadvertently interfering with some easement rights?
So, yeah, that's a concern that we had when we were reviewing the plans, when doing that analysis and understanding that they are taking away some of the pavement that could potentially be required for parcels in the back to take access from Cranbrook Road. And so we did talk about that. We received information that full access to those properties to the rear would be maintained. And so I think just getting clarification on that right now is, my understanding was that the access would be maintained from down here. And so there are two access points, but just with the modifications in this location, we just want to be certain that there is no interruption in terms of accessing properties that are landlocked from Cranbrook.
Well, I mean, there's rights of ingress and egress that are maintained, but it looks like whoever developed all those properties contemplated potential anyway for both routes being used.
Mhm.
the applicant's saying that the area over your property is not a part of the easement overlaid for your neighbors to the south and then to the east of you.
I'm sorry, sir. Are you talking about for future, once this is all done?
That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, no, I just didn't know if it was for construction basis, but if you look at the green, they'll still be able to hop on the green drive and go out the gate that they're accustomed to going right now.
Okay. I see.
That's still a common drive.
That's the common drive.
Okay.
So nothing's changing in terms of that. I'm giving them their full access to the way that they're able to get out.
So that area, okay, so that area to the east in green, you're not gating that?
He's talking about it.
Oh, no.
Okay, and I see that other road underneath it.
That's tying into the road.
Okay, so you're just creating
A different path.
a different route.
Correct.
Right. There's still two
Two
ingress,
access points.
two from this Cranbrook, you're just modifying
That's correct.
where they access.
That's correct.
And during construction throughout this, the south drive will be maintained non-disturbed.
Yeah.
It'll stay,
I just didn't know, I'm not planning on closing that gate and only making it for me or doing anything else. So that gate will maintain open. It's redirecting the traffic.
so I think to answer the original question, the southern portion that's shown on this image would be maintained at this point at the property line and exit. It'll continue on. It's just out of the image, south of the image, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you have no control over that, but it's,
Right.
it's the area where your neighbors to the south and the east of you, where they gain access to the northern entrance to Cranbrook. That I see now that, you know, if you're creating a new point, now is that an issue by having the route in the rear yard, Eric?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
So where this entrance, is it Woodbury, whatever that's, the private drive is now being relocated in the area depicted in green on this handout, over to the east. You're right there. So does it matter that that's being built in the rear yard?
No. My understanding is that the easement would allow for the traffic to be maintained with paved improvements in that area to take access from and to Cranbrook Road.
Yeah, but the fact that there's a part of that drive is going to be in the rear yard, that doesn't matter.
It exists in the rear yard.
Yeah, that wouldn't matter. No, sir.
I don't see how we can make decisions about something that requires somebody's goodwill. I mean, so he sells the house and the next person doesn't
What it would,
leave the gate open.
what it would fall back on is where the easements, where the dedicated easements lie. What are the boundaries of the access easement? It's within those boundaries that you are to pave to provide access to all of the lots that it's intended to serve. And so my understanding, unless we need to have further confirmation of that, is that the changes that are being made are within the access easement boundaries.
Has the city attorney looked at this?
No.
Okay. Is title work and easement, that's part of the application, right? I mean, is that something that comes with these kinds of applications when there's, this is a, you know, unique property interest, these ingress egress, and going over your property is, you know, it's unusual.
Just to clarify something that I think might have been confusing, there's no gate being put on the east side of that access. We're only gonna maintain the Cranbrook gate on the north and the south entrance. Everything else is still gonna have full access from all the neighbors.
Okay, and that helps, but still, to Leonard's point, whatever that access easement says, that undoubtedly exists and is recorded against your property and your neighbor's property, whether it has a diagram of the route that is the accepted ingress egress, or whether it just describes you get rights somewhere, and this is what we're doing. Now we're creating a difference somewhere on the property. I mean, it seems to me that's relevant to the analysis. But
Does the city attorney feel like she should examine this? Should we table this and give you some time to look at it?
If the board is concerned about the extent of the access easement and where exactly it is on these two properties, I would recommend that this be tabled
Mm-hmm.
so that our office can review the access easement and confirm that this in no way impacts them.
Mm-hmm.
I can't answer at this time where the access easement is and whether this impacts it.
Is the algebraic, since Eric, can you go to the other slide? And so those dashed lines, is that the algebraic setback area?
We do have a slide on that. That's this one here.
So this slide with those dashed lines, that's just the setbacks for distance?
The, which, are you referring to like this?
Those, yeah.
Yeah, that's the minimum setback of the district, so 24-foot setback, that's what's required, so they have to meet that,
Yeah.
which is that point here, but what exists is an encroachment into that. And then the 45 feet off of the front, off of Cranbrook, that's here, so they're well beyond that, and then the side setback here. But it's the grid, that's the surface that's being removed.
Right.
And then in red is the new impervious surfaces.
Can you see that algebraic setback there?
Oops.
So where are the, as you see it, in using the term problems, where's the,
The area highlighted in red, well, let me see, just to clarify, test lines N2, N3. Sorry, I haven't looked at this in a while, so I don't have it off the top. Here's N2, which is the closest point, this in green. It originally stops here as the current house ends there, but by extending it in this location, that's the first of the non-compliant with the addition included. And then N3, I would assume that's the next one down. So then your length gets longer, the height gets higher, and you're in relative close proximity to the north.
so the addition renders the current residence non-conforming? That red
This,
area?
yeah, this red area is existing, and so it's non-conforming. So even if, because the addition shown here is in compliance with the 24-foot setback, it doesn't require a variance from that. But because it's a change to this existing nonconformity, this requires a variance, because otherwise, this proposal would require this portion of the house to be axed off, to be removed,
Okay.
so that it would be now in compliance. But that's not practical, obviously, and so it just, for matters of, formality, requires a variance to be addressed.
So to address the questions from the other member, the issues are really that and the open space.
Yes, exactly, yep.
And the open space has been improved by a certain percent.
Yes, exactly, yep. They're gaining over 1,000 feet of open space with this proposal.
So, City Attorney, how do we, can we vote on this pending application but preserve the issue and the review of this easement issue?
That was what I was gonna ask. Can you approve it subject to
Subject
the
to-
proper review of the easement, or do you have to table it and then take a look at the easement?
Right, yeah.
So, if the board is concerned about the access easement, that is directly tied into the impervious surface improvements that are before the board. My recommendation would not be to separate these two items
Okay.
because they go together.
Sure.
And
you know, thank you for that. I mean, I think the impervious surface issue is helpful and what they're eliminating, but I'm just concerned about participating in violating the current easement rights of others that may be depicted in a recorded instrument. I mean, maybe not, don't know, right? And so I'd like to know whether we can deal with the pending application subject to confirmation from a review of what's recorded in terms of easement rights to have a determination that this proposed configuration, if approved, won't violate the easement rights that are recorded currently.
If the board would like to move forward with this application, it would have, yes, adding a condition saying this approval is subject to an attorney review and confirmation that this does not violate the access easement could be appropriate.
Okay, and if the opinion of council is that it does, you know, you guys are gonna have to face that anyway. You don't wanna have your neighbors saying you're violating our easement rights. And likely you're not, because I assume that you've talked to all your neighbors about this and nobody's voicing any objections. Is that true?
I don't believe so.
And no one's here.
I mean, in theory, I don't believe I'm infringing on all of your easements.
Okay, and
Nothing's
Amy,
changed,
nobody's,
Except I'm making my kids safer.
Was everybody notified?
Everyone was notified, we did not get notification.
Okay.
no complaints, and they saw these drawings and no complaints.
They're available on the website and we offer them to
Okay.
people to view them.
Okay. Should we hear from the engineer? Are you done with your?
Yes, I'm finished.
So I guess related to the landscape open space, we did require that they add some stormwater management system to the property. So they are proposing a leaching basin as well as an edge drain along the property line to capture runoff from the new driveway and just enhance stormwater management on the site itself. So we feel for what they're doing that this is an appropriate recommendation.
And the newly proposed drive doesn't need any particular drainage issues, curb gutter, nothing like that. Any questions for the engineer?
No.
Thank you. Does the applicant want to comment on this application? You guys want to say anything about the application? Anything that we've not already said? Now's your chance.
We discussed, I mean, these are not self-created issues. It's a kind of particular lot that creates a lot of challenges as far as the length and the depth of it. So if we're trying to follow these algebraic equations, it basically renders the lot unbuildable. I mean, so to try and match those non-conforming, or to rebuild those, I mean, the overall purpose is to add an appropriate garage space for the size of the house. And again, we are improving the landscape open space. In doing so, we're maintaining all the access points to all the adjacent neighbors. We do feel like this is an improvement to the city and the neighbors.
Okay. Thank you. Any other debate, questions, comments?
No.
We have a motion we want to submit. All right, well, I'll make a proposed motion to approve the following dimensional variances as submitted with some caveats. I move to approve the following dimensional variances in order to allow a garage addition to 300 Cranbrook Road. Number one, variance from section 24-196 to allow for the continuation of a 19.6-foot existing non-conforming setback in lieu of the 24-foot setback required by ordinance is appropriate. Number 2, a variance from section 24-196 sub V to allow for the continuation of a 29-foot existing non-conforming calculated setback for test line N1 in lieu of the ordinance required setback of 48.15 feet. Number 3, a variance from section 24-196 sub V to allow for the continuation of a 42.3-foot existing non-conforming calculated setback for test line N4 in lieu of the ordinance required setback of 70 feet. Number 4, a variance from section 24-196 sub V to allow for a 30.6-foot calculated setback for test line N2 in lieu of the ordinance required 55.45-foot calculated setback. Number 5, a variance from section 24.196 sub V to allow for a 38.8-foot calculated setback for test line N3 in lieu of the ordinance required 80.9-foot calculated setback. Number 6, a variance from section 24-196 sub V to allow for a 47.3-foot calculated setback for test line N5 in lieu of the ordinance required 90.01-foot calculated setback. Number 7, a variance from section 24.196 sub V to allow for an 82.67-foot calculated setback for test line S1 in lieu of the ordinance required 90.01-foot calculated setback. And number 8, a variance from section 24.196 to allow for an increase in landscaped open space from the existing non-conforming amount of 57.48% to 59.80% in lieu of the ordinance required 75%. The applicant has demonstrated practical difficulty for the following reasons. Number 1, strict compliance with the requirement would unreasonably prevent or severely limit the owner from improving the property for the following reasons. First, the existing home has a non-conforming side yard setback across the north property line. At present, the existing home encroaches 4.4 feet into the side yard setback, and the existing home sits on a mere 19.6 foot from the property line. While the proposed garage meets the 24-foot required setback from the non-conforming property line, the existing home, which the garage is attached to, does not. It would not be reasonable to prevent the homeowner from constructing an attached garage just because the existing home is non-conforming. Attached garages are common in the community, and the homeowner's request is reasonable given the restrictions and existing nonconformities present on the property. Second, the current structure is not compliant with the algebraic setback requirements, which limits the ability for the proposed attached garage structure to comply with the calculated setback requirements. Finally, based on the engineer's detailed analysis of the site, the proposed improvements have no adverse drainage impacts on the subject site or surrounding properties. Whether the property owner will be adding one leaching basin and perforated drainage along the southern property line. Is that established on the plans? Your recommendation, is that in the proposed plans now?
Yeah, that came
Yep.
from.
Okay. Okay. Number 2, the requested variances would do substantial justice to the property owner as well as other property owners. The proposed garage addition, the homeowner's propose is to increase the amount of landscaped open space on the property from 57.48% to 59.80%. This change will reduce the amount of impervious surface on the property by 1,445 square feet. This increase brings the property closer to compliance with the city ordinance while allowing the property owner to reasonably improve their property. Number 3, the plight of the property owner is due to the uniqueness of the property. This property has several existing nonconformities which limit the ability of the homeowner to improve upon the property. Number 4, the proponent's problem is not self-created, as the landscaped open space nonconformities, existing nonconforming structures, and setback nonconformities are inherent to the property. Lastly, the granting of the variance will not adversely affect the purposes or objectives of the master plan. The purpose of the master plan is in residential areas is to allow homeowners the opportunity to improve the property while minimizing impact on the neighbors. And lastly, this motion is conditioned on the city attorney being provided with a copy of the recorded ingress-egress access easement for her review and confirmation that the proposed new drive is consistent with the easement rights of your neighbors as recorded in that instrument. And if, in the opinion of city attorney, it is not consistent, your proposed plan, then you'll be contacted and there'll be some potential modification to the layout to render the easement access consistent with the recorded instrument. That's my motion.
Well done.
Hope you appreciate that mouthful. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
And that concludes the agenda for today's meeting. We're adjourned.
Happy holidays, everybody.
You want me to give